Let's go back a decade to 2014 for just a second here. On the top of your dome, do you know who led the Seattle Mariners in stolen bases in the 2014 season? I'll give you some time here. No, it's not Jesus Montero or Krista Norfia, although good guess. It's Italian baseball legend Krista Norfia, actually. No. It wasn't either of those guys. It was James Jones, a little blast from the past. James Jones, he stole 27 bases in 2014. That was 10th in the American League that year. What's funny, too, is he had 28 career stolen bases. He had 27 in 2014, and then he played a few games with the Mariners in 2015, had one stolen base, and that was it for the career stolen bases of James Jones. Welcome back, everyone, to the Chaos Ball Podcast. Thanks for tapping in. That was a little minute blast from the past of only a couple years ago, 2014. I was surprised. James Jones was not on my notes of like things to bring up this episode, but I tend to just kind of look at Baseball Reference and get lost in the spreadsheets, and that was pretty fun. And second and third also on that list of Mariners in 2014. So James Jones stole 27 bases with one caught stealing too. Like what a season for him, and played a lot of games for the Mariners, 108 games. It's a lot of stolen bases in 108 games. Second was Austin Jackson, fellow center fielder, with 11 stolen bases, so the drop-off was stark. And then in third place was little-known second baseman speedster Robinson Cano, who stole 10 bases that year. And that was his career high of stolen bases. He had never stolen double-digit stolen bases up until that point. He got close in 2011 with 8, but he got 10, double digits with the Seattle Mariners in 2014. But I digress. Shout out to James Jones. And 2014 was a decade ago. Just think about that one for a second. All right, let's get cracking. Let's get cracking into the episode. This could end up being a short episode, but I don't know. We'll see where the recording takes me, and if it takes me down any James Jones or Nate Karns rabbit holes, because I was legitimately, Nate Karns popped into my head in the shower earlier this week, and I tweeted it out. If you ever think about Nate Karns, I thought about him in the shower. I don't know what that says about me or my mental fortitude at the moment, but shout out to Nate Karns. I don't know what that means for me and my head, but let's get into it. The Mariners, of course, Jerry Dipoto has given me something else to talk about this week. I will talk about the trade that he made. Stop me if you've heard this before, but Jerry Dipoto, he made another trade. And then some other random stuff, mostly focusing on that trade, and then just some other random topics I have tacked on to the end of this one that relate more to the broader Major League Baseball landscape rather than the Mariners. Fangraphs and Pacoda projections came out. I'm not going to delve into those. That's for preseason, not predictions, preseason preview podcast fodder. But the projections, I will say, are basically what the Mariners have been projected at the past 3 years. Mid-80s wins. That is about what they've been projected at, which is pretty astounding and impressive for the team to put together 3 straight years of like 84 to 88 win projected teams when your young core of players has only gotten exponentially better. It's impressive. It's an impressive lesson in team building. And the lesson is start a coup amongst the fans in the front office and take over the means of production of the Seattle Mariners, aka oust John Stanton and the ownership group and make the Mariners like the Packers. I feel like I'm supported in this. I could spearhead this movement. Maybe I shouldn't record this if something actually happens. But I will be the revolutionary leader to revitalize the Seattle Mariners from an ownership perspective. Do I have the money? Absolutely not. I do not have the money. I don't even know exactly how the Packers have money, considering I just genuinely I don't really understand entirely how the Packers ownership works, but it sounds cool to be like a part owner of a team. That sounds pretty sweet. So I'd love to do that. I've already rabbit holed like 3 times. I'm 5 minutes into the episode. But I had one thing written down here before I really actually get into what I want to talk about today. Do you think the Mariners marketing team, I know they get the news probably prior to the media hearing about it, like officially. And they also probably get like inklings. I'm sure they make a lot of drafts of rumors within the organization. Like, was there a Marcus Semien photoshopped Mariners post in a Mariners jersey post made in 2021 because they were, in the hunt for him? There might have been. I feel like that is a safe way to assume that's how the social media and their like creative content team does stuff. I'm wondering with Jorge Polanco, have they had his face photoshopped in a Mariners jersey for like 3 straight years now? Just ready. Like the social media person finally hearing the news is like letting out a massive sneeze. It's just like, oh my God, finally we can post it. We've had Jorge Polanco plastered on our walls in a Mariners jersey for years, and Jerry finally got him. I was just thinking about that, and I didn't even mention that last week, but I wanted to mention that because Jorge Polanco again has been basically a Mariner for a couple of years now. He's been the rumor. He's been the elusive man that Jerry Dipoto has wanted, and like every media member has been like, yeah, he's a fit there. Okay, again, stop me, please. Stop me from ranting if you can. Jerry Dipoto made another trade in the time of my last recording to now, which was a little bit over a week, about a week and a half. He made a trade. So Jerry, thanks. More stuff to talk about here. And this one was kind of, I don't know if it's a classic Jerry trade, because I feel like this one kind of moves the bullpen needle a little bit, where a lot of his random trades, I get out of them kind of grasping at straws of like, does this really help? Did he give up too much? Why did he do this? Did he just trade with the Rays again because he was bored, which I honestly think happens from time to time because he has an addiction to making trades. But no, this one was a pleasant surprise to hit the timeline. One that was just it wasn't a breath of fresh air, but it was like, oh, okay. Like I can get behind this. And that was my initial reaction. And then as I've thought about it over these few days since the trade happened, it makes a ton of sense for the Mariners, and I really do like it. I like it a lot. So this one, it was a trade with the Chicago White Sox for relief pitcher Gregory Santos, and in exchange for Gregory Santos and his, I want to say 3 or 4 years of control here with arbitration coming up, they gave up Prelander Berroa, Zach DeLoach, in a compensation pick that they had, which was 69th overall. Nice. But I liked this trade. This was just like, wow. I wonder how long this has been in the works. It was interesting because last week I talked about, and I mentioned, it was either last week or the week before, how like I feel like with the Topa departure, and even before the Topa departure, I thought they probably could use another good relief pitcher in there. And I assumed what they would do is acquire that relief pitcher a lot like Trevor Gott style, where you pick him up off the scrap heap for $1 million in free agency, and then all of a sudden he's like a 1-win relief pitcher for 2024. That's how I thought this was going to go, if we're being honest. I didn't really foresee a trade for a relief pitcher, but that I fell victim to one of the classic blunders of assuming that Jerry Dipoto would do anything but trade to acquire a player, and I can't believe I even talked myself into him signing a free agent relief pitcher, to add to the pile of minor league relief pitchers that he's signed in the past like month and a half. But he trades for Gregory Santos, not a name that I feel like a lot of people in the what am I trying to say here? In the more casual baseball viewing world, 1, he's on the White Sox. They're bad. 2, he's a relief pitcher. and that's it. That's about it. I mean, how many casual fans, particularly if you're a fan of the Mariners and just watch the Mariners, why would you know who Gregory Santos is unless you're pouring over the Stuff Plus leaderboards on Fangraphs, like I am, and a lot of people, I guess, are. I don't know why you know about this guy, but if you know anything about baseball, anything about stats, you just watch this guy. You know he's a good relief pitcher. I just think it's a really good move for the Mariners. Gregory Santos had proved last season that he can be I'm not going to say elite relief pitcher here, but great relief pitcher, like anchor a bullpen type relief pitcher. Last season, he pitched 66 and a third innings with a 3.39 ERA, a 3.11 expected ERA, and a 2.65 FIP to go along with that, and a 1.6 F-WAR season from a relief pitcher. And that's a good amount of innings. That's a healthy amount of innings. And I think the real intrigue here came from what he did to change his approach leading up to just him climaxing is the wrong word, but leading up to just his year last year. He had come up with the Giants, and he was just a classic modern example of insanely nasty shit and didn't particularly know where it was going. Needed to iron out that command as well as kind of find his fastball a little bit. His bread and butter is his slider, but he needed to find the fastball. And he left the Giants, went to the White Sox. The White Sox unlocked something in his command, but also I don't know if they encouraged him to do this or he just did this on his own, but they essentially said, stop throwing a 4-seam fastball. You throw a 2-seam fastball or sinker. I think it's classified as a sinker in Baseball Savant. And that really unlocked it. The sinker slider combo was ruthless to hitters last year. He's essentially, so the rundown, I mean, he's essentially the Justin Topa replacement. You can expect Justin Topa numbers from him, to be honest. Like they go about things a little different, but you can expect the similar numbers as Justin Topa last year to what Gregory Santos might give us this season and beyond. There was a really good piece in Baseball Prospectus. Yeah, it was at Baseball Prospectus, like comparing Topa's 2023 to Gregory Santos' 2023, and they're strikingly similar in terms of like strikeout rate. Ex-WOBA was very similar, like ERAs were like they're very similar pitchers last year. A little, again, the stuff's different. Gregory Santos just goes about his job slightly differently than Justin Topa does. Santos throws harder. He is an absolute pure slider fastball relief pitcher. And Topa threw a lot of like 2-seam sinker slider. That was a lot of his mix, but he also he bopped in a cutter and a changeup every now and then. The cutter was a fun little pitch for him last year as a little third saucy little pitch. But Santos, true 70-grade slider, just an absolutely elite breaking pitch in his slider with a 60-grade 2-seam fastball sinker, again, as it's classified on Baseball Savant, and that reaches triple digits. I think his average fastball velocity last season was like 99 miles an hour. So the epitome of a modern back of the bullpen relief pitcher of fastball slider, hard throwing, nasty movement combo. Like that's exactly what he is. The only concern here is the elbow, which like to be fair, very large concern, as like the only quote concern of his is the elbow. I mean, it's like buying a car and the only concern with you buying this car is the engine a little bit. The engine spent the end of last car season on the injured list for engine inflammation. I'm going to stop with this scenario here, but no, Gregory Santos' elbow, his elbow, his throwing elbow. He ended last season on the injured list with elbow inflammation. So not a tear, not anything that was going to require surgery, but they shut him down, and that ended his season towards the end of the season. And I think he just started throwing again in like December. So I think he was ramping up. And I'm sure we'll hear more about this as pitchers and catchers report and all that. I'm sure it'll be very telling how healthy that elbow actually is. But that is a concern. I mean, he's a really hard throwing relief pitcher who ended last season on the IL with elbow inflammation. And so that's a little like, it's like a little unnerving of what could potentially happen. But it's not like the Mariners don't know this. I'm sure the adequate precautions will be taken. And also, just looking at the bullpen right now, there are arms aplenty. Good, bad, mediocre, there's arms aplenty to, if they want to slow play him, if they need to shut him down at all during the season. I think there's enough there to be okay, but you would be doing a disservice, and I would be doing a disservice to you in talking about how great he is and how excited I am to watch him pitch without mentioning the concern of the elbow there. But, I mean, this, like, on paper, and again, he's going to be pitching next year, so it's not like we can just pencil in an injury here. This improves the bullpen a lot. It looked a little bit more top-heavy after giving up Topa, and I think I talked about that. It looked a little top-heavy with solid guys, but now I think this really stabilizes it. You have your three best guys, you're back at the bullpen, and Brash, Munoz, and Santos, I think, is a really, really good back of the bullpen battery. I don't want to rank it just yet. Maybe I will in the preview episodes. But I think that is an absolutely nasty three arms in the bullpen to complement a good rotation. And like the rest of the bullpen's good too, but that makes me breathe a little bit easier than just having Brash and Munoz at the back of that pen. So I think there's still plenty of upside with the supporting cast of the bullpen, and I feel like there's still upside with like Brash, Munoz, and Santos, even though we've seen all three of these guys be elite relievers. So I think this is a great trade from the Mariners' perspective, to be honest. I think trading for an impact relief arm like this is clearly a move that's like, hey, yeah, we got rid of Topa, but we want to replace him, and that's smart, and I like it. Now, what did they give up? So I'll start with Zach DeLoach. I guess I'll start with the least important thing, the compensatory 69th overall pick. Sure, I mean, that's not a bad pick for the White Sox to get from this trade. I'll leave it at that. It's a draft pick in Major League Baseball. Not a whole lot to read into there. I'll start with Zach DeLoach. Zach DeLoach just felt blocked. He just felt blocked. It was made perfect sense for them to include him in a trade like this, where he's not the main guy, but he's a supporting cast of this trade. Seems like a perfectly fine corner outfielder at the AAA level. Like, he had a solid season last year in Tacoma, and at the start of the offseason, I remember they added him to the 40-man, and it was like, oh, okay, maybe we'll see like Zach DeLoach in the corners this year, which I wasn't super thrilled about. But that was before all of the trades happened, and that's clearly not what's going to happen now. Wouldn't surprise me, I guess, if he became like a league average big league player. I don't see like that much upside, but I feel like I see a player who's good enough to stick in the corners for a decent amount of time. I'm no scouting expert, but I don't know how high his ceiling is, but I feel like he is fast enough, can play the corners, and has a decent hit tool to at least play on this White Sox squad, I think, which is quite bad. And he just didn't really have a spot on this roster, on this Mariners roster, like at all. With the corners as filled with kind of mid as they are, you have Rayleigh, Canzone, Haniger, and Marlowe, I think, all probably above him on the depth chart. All guys like Canzone and Marlowe both were rookies last year, but played in the major leagues for the Mariners, and Zach DeLoach was in AAA. So that tells you just those guys are definitely above him. Obviously Julio, but he's not in the corners. And then he'd still probably have to contend with like Taylor Trammell and even Jonathan Clase in AAA next season, honestly. So I didn't see a spot for him on this roster, and the Mariners didn't either. And it's not rocket science to say like maybe we should just trade this guy. Particularly he's a lefty. and you have Canzone, Marlowe, and Taylor Trammell. And Jonathan Clase is a switch hitter, but you have at least two other young lefties that they favor more in the organization in front of you. And Rayleigh, who they just acquired to be their full-time left fielder, who's also a lefty. So it's not like that helped him at all either. That probably, if anything, pushed him out the door quicker. But I don't have much else to say. It just made sense to include him in a trade. I wish him the best in Chicago. And then Prelander Berroa, the golden boy of the Mariners minor league stuff last year. I talked about the weird handling of him last year. He pitched like a couple innings for the Mariners in a weird situation, and I was greatly looking forward to what he could contribute to the 2024 iteration of the Mariners bullpen, and now he is gone. I was fully on the 2024 hype train. For him in the M's bullpen, I was like, he's going to win this spot. He's a wild card, but I was like, it's going to be a good year. I can feel it. And that wasn't like a groundbreaking take. I mean, you could see the stuff is there. But I'll still support him for the White Sox. I think he at least has a clearly defined spot in that bullpen where it was still kind of a question mark in Seattle. I think he's absolutely got a spot in that sad Chicago White Sox bullpen now, especially that Gregory Santos is gone. And I think his peak is honestly Gregory Santos. My brother texted me that shortly after this trade happened, that it's basically like the White Sox gave up Gregory Santos for potentially future Gregory Santos because they're very similar in stuff and just how they pitch. And that makes a lot of sense. So the M's, and on the flip side, the M's basically traded a young, promising bullpen arm for potentially what they could have seen in the future from him in 2 to 3 years in Gregory Santos, but they're getting it now. So ultimately, tough to see him go, but just because of the intrigue of him, we saw his debut in the big league and the little pitches he threw for the Mariners last year. So much intrigue. It was tantalizing. It was like, oh man, when is he going to be up full time? And now he's in the White Sox. But getting Santos back in return will probably satisfy that itch for me in the bullpen in terms of just raw stuff plus, along with Matt Brash and Munoz, just nasty. And Santos is a proven major league pitcher with a really solid relief year in his belt in last season that he can build on. And if he just does the same thing, very similar year, that's huge. That's a massive year. For the White Sox in this deal, I don't exactly know what the strategy is here. It feels like this trade is better for the Mariners. Like you get like Zach DeLoach, just a corner outfielder in a place in the White Sox org where it felt like they had nothing but guys playing the corner outfield who didn't belong in the corner outfield. Like the team building on that, I don't want to get into the White Sox team building. It's oh boy, new GM and everything. Maybe there's a plan. I guess it makes sense getting Gregory Santos out of there before they had to start paying him arbitration for no reason, essentially. Like him being just a really good pitcher in an awful bullpen. Maybe they could have hung on to him until the trade deadline, but I don't know what his market was. I imagine the Mariners reached out first here. But could they have held on and gotten a different deal, a better deal? Maybe. I'm just surprised at them getting Prelander Berroa back. And Zach DeLoach just doesn't do much for me. The pick, sure, just compile as many picks as you can. You don't get much opportunity in Major League Baseball to get more picks than other teams. And when you can, I guess go for it. But it is just funny to trade Gregory Santos for potentially Gregory Santos in a relief prospect. Maybe they'll have him start. I don't know. I just feel like I would have tried to reach for not the pick, not Zach DeLoach, not Prelander Berroa, but go for one of the Mariners' more highly touted prospects, but just one of them, and maybe they did that. I don't know. This is just confusing from the White Sox perspective. I see the merits of it for them. It's just a sad situation for their squad right now. Don't look at the White Sox pitching staff, particularly their bullpen. Don't do it. Don't go to Fangraphs Roster Resource. click on White Sox and scroll down to the bullpen. Don't do that. I do not recommend it. It's harmful, and they're going to be so bad this year. They're going to be terrible. And all this to say, I like this trade. That's my trade analysis. That's Gregory Santos for you. I do enjoy this trade. I wish Prelander the Bro the best, and I will be watching his career. Hopefully he's as good as Gregory Santos one day. That would be awesome. Is the team right now, the question we're all asking, is the team better right now? The roster as constructed on, you're listening to this on February 9th. Are they better than at the end of last season? Yeah. I'd say that even before this trade, because at the end of the year, they had Sam Haggerty hitting DH in very crucial games down the stretch. And I think the addition of Mitch Garver automatically makes the team better. But no, I think they are a little bit better. It's hard to see because we're so clouded with trade fog from Jerry Dipoto. And it's every offseason, but this feels like particularly the turnover this offseason is crazy. The core is there, but the team is pretty different offensively. The lineup is quite different. So it's hard to directly compare too, because I feel like the floor is lower for this lineup, to be honest. Maybe the floor is the same, but the ceiling I think is higher. I think pitching wise they seem set up to be better or comparable, at least to last year. Potentially the best rotation in baseball, at least probably top 5 entering the year. Another strong bullpen. The lineup, there's a lot more risk here. I feel like there's a lot more upside, there's a lot more potential, but I also think there's a lower floor of injury-related stuff. So I will still save a lot of this talk for the preview episode, but as of right now, I do think the team is marginally better than they were at the end of last season, and definitely better than on opening day when Tommy La Stella was the starting DH. Definitely better than that lineup right now. So what I will say is going into the year, and they're not going to do it, but the bullpen is poised to be very good again. The Los Bomberos. They nicknamed their whole bullpen. What is it? The Firemen. Please bring back the bullpen cart. I'm begging you. The Mariners can do it first, and other teams will follow. Bullpen carts need to exist again. It's just so fun. Baseball is such a fun, unique sport. And the bullpen cart adds to the jolly outing of going to a baseball game in person. It's like, oh, hey, look. They're driving this player up to the mound. That's sick. I think not only should they bring it back, they shouldn't half-ass it. That's what I'd worry about with bullpen carts if they ever made a return. You can't just roll out a golf cart out there. You know? You can't just be like, oh, pick you up in the golf cart, or what is the 4-wheeler that you see the Mariner Moose driving around that the grounds crew has? It can't just be that. That would be lame. That'd still be fun, but not as fun as it could be. So they need to bring back the OG Seattle Mariners bullpen tugboat. That was sweet. Make it a ferry. Make it a canoe or something. And if you don't want to go Mariners theme, your bullpen is called Los Bomberos. Just roll them out there in a fire truck. Drop them off, or have them climb the ladder. No, that's injury waiting to happen. But no, you get my point. Teams need to bring this back. Imagine the Pirates call to the bullpen in the bottom of the ninth. They're up 1 run. David Bednar is coming into the game, and he gets on top of the pirate ship, and he mounts the wheel, and they drive him up to the mound. Tell me that wouldn't be phenomenal. What what would other teams do? The Rays could be a giant Tampa Ray cart. What would the Red Sox do? I don't know. Giant sock. No, there's a lot of potential here. Some teams have a lot more potential than others. I think the Mariners and the Pirates, in terms of the seafaring aspect of the team, where you can make it a boat, have a lot more potential than others here. But I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be very cool, and I just want it to happen. I want to make baseball sillier. Like, they already put a clock up there. They already changed it in a serious way. Can we make it silly again? And that is the rest of my time talking about the Mariners. That was half an hour of Mariners. Now what's happening? What's happening in baseball? Like, how is the rest of the offseason going to go? Like, I feel like for the Mariners, I think we kind of know the roster is pretty set at the moment. However, there's the creeping thought in my mind of a potential Jerry Dipoto trade in the next couple weeks. Could absolutely happen. It's Jerry Dipoto. He's addicted to trades. He puts potential trades in that spoon and he heats it up and he injects it, and then he calls the Tampa Bay Rays and says, let me get a relief pitcher for a double-A corner outfielder with one really good tool, please. But I feel fairly confident in saying they're probably done. But there's so many just completely forgot how to speak there for a second. There's so many free agents left, like solid free agents. What I would do at this juncture, and looking at the Mariners' payroll, I think their payroll is roughly going to be $135 million this year. It was roughly that last year, which is a little depressing. Not a little depressing. That's a lot depressing. From a team that promised the world not only last offseason, but then this offseason, where it's like, oh, the payroll's going to increase. False. It is not. It's going to remain the same. And the same is still below league average and low. And could be higher. There's still money. I know John Stanton isn't broke. What I would do if I was running this team, I would sign Cody Bellinger and be done with the offseason. There we go. Cody Bellinger, while he's elite in center field, I don't think he's taking Julio's spot. He can be the full-time right fielder / first baseman if the Ty France 2024 reclamation project goes poorly. That's what I would do. That's not going to happen, but that's what I would do. Because there's just a shocking amount of free agents still available. Like Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery, the two pitchers, the two southpaws, who are going to get a considerable amount of money, maybe less now, but still a good amount of money, are still available. And then you have like the good hitters that are still available. There's so many. You have Jorge Soler, Cody Bellinger, JD Martinez, Brandon Belt, who was really good last year for the Blue Jays. No one has signed him. Like, why don't the Mariners just sign Brandon Belt? That's actually what I would do, because that'd be cheap. It'd be like a 1-year deal. And I see only upside. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You're not putting that much money towards Brandon Belt. Adam Duvall, Matt Chapman, Whit Merrifield, like Tim Anderson, if you want to try that out. And there's a lot of other just names, like Corey Kluber, I feel like, is a free agent. He I don't know. Just surprised a middling team hasn't signed him. Like, those guys I just listed are probably the best available, and they're solid. It's wild, and this last crop of signings could like legitimately sway divisional races. There are enough wins in that list of players that I said to significantly increase the team's playoff chances. Like Cody Bellinger, even Jorge Soler, like the Giants seem to be on Jorge Soler. That would do a lot for the middle of their lineup. I don't know if it'd propel them to even a wild card favorite. Still think there's a lot for them to do, but like just plopping Jorge Soler in the middle of your lineup would help tremendously. Cody Bellinger would help tremendously. Putting Blake Snell or Jordan Montgomery at the top of your rotation would be helpful to every contending team. It's crazy they're not signed. It's gonna make the preview pods a little bit tougher if it remains like this. If Scott Boras keeps strangling and holding out against these teams who don't want to pay people money. I don't know who to root for. I'm inherently on the side of the players, but it's Scott Boras who's like the super agent, who I guess is ultimately good because he gets players the most money available, and that's sweet. But it also feels bad that it can come down to one agent versus, I don't know, probably 12 contending teams wanting to sign these guys, maybe 15. And he kind of has the power to just say no. I guess these guys need jobs at some point. Something has to give. Like, will we enter the season with Blake Snell or Jordan Montgomery without a home? Because I think for those guys, obviously the holdup is probably just the years. A team will have to commit probably 7 years, 6-7 years to one of these guys. They don't want to do that for a pitcher, even though that'd probably bring the price down to give him more years. But is Jorge Soler signed by opening day? Are the Dodgers going to say, screw it, no one else is going to sign them? Fine. Blake Snell, come on down. Cody Bellinger, come on down. Like, what's going to happen? It's ridiculous. It's giving me Bryce Harper free agency type vibes, where it just feels like there's too many good players still available, and pitchers and catchers start reporting next week. It feels ridiculous to me. But I don't know. I don't know where the offseason is going to go. I feel safe that the Mariners' core of their roster is pretty set right now. I'm ready to actually start thinking about opening day and the season as a whole, and the players and the impact players and everything else, the X factors and all that. I'm ready to start locking it in. I thought I was a couple weeks ago, and then Jerry said, no, I will keep making trades, and he keeps doing it. But in other MLB news, I didn't get to talk about this last week because there was, big trade that happened. I had to talk about that. The Nationals announced that their Cherry Blossom, City Connects, are they City Connects? Yeah, I think they were. The Cherry Blossom jerseys, one of the best jerseys in baseball, beloved by most fans of most teams I've seen. At least the online sentiment is they're awesome. They're having a farewell tour this year. The Nationals said they were going to retire those jerseys at the end of the year. And I have a big problem. I have a big issue with this because this is afflicting the NBA first and foremost. And I think it's leaking into baseball. Haven't quite seen it in football. It's definitely the biggest thing in the NBA is churning these jerseys. And there's no good reason to do this besides getting something fresh out there that's a new jersey for people to buy the new jersey. Because if people have the old jersey, they're not going to want to buy a different player with the old jersey, even though it looks good. A lot of people are, but the masses definitely are not. So this is like a total business move, trying to just squeeze as much money out of your fans as possible. And I hate it. We have seen how hard it is to make a universally loved jersey. We've seen how hard it is to make a fine, good, fun jersey. Like in baseball, too, you have a lot of classics that have, are teams that have been around for 120 years. Like the Cardinals, our jerseys are great. Like the Yankees pinstripes, the Red Sox, the Dodgers home whites. You have these jerseys that have been around forever, like the Pirates. And it's hard to screw those up. But then these teams do try to have some fun, like especially with the City Connects. You design a new jersey and it hits, and you just get rid of it in 3 seasons. Like, everyone loves the Cherry Blossoms. Just make them an alternate jersey that you wear 20 times a year. You don't have to get rid of them. Because I guarantee the next jersey they'll drop is not going to be good. As good. It could be good. I just don't think it's going to be as good. The perfect example in the NBA, and this is a lot of teams are doing this right now, but feels like every NBA team has new jerseys every year at this point. The Miami Vice Heat jerseys that they came out with a few years ago. The first iteration of them. Absolutely heat. That's an S-tier jersey. That jersey was sweet. Everyone loved it. And then every year after that, they have changed it a little bit to refresh it to make a new jersey to sell. And it's progressively gotten worse and worse until last season they rolled out that serial killer ass lettering, kids designed ass jersey that no one liked. Why didn't you just keep the Miami Vice jerseys as your fucking home jerseys? Home and away, even. Pink's away, home's I don't know. Why didn't you keep those jerseys? Like, if you polled the fans and were like, hey, you want us to keep these jerseys or get new ones? No fan would be like, oh, get new ones. I want to give you more money for a newer, worse jersey. That's not how that works. So I wanted to touch on that because that's just ridiculous and I hate that that happens. But my last topic of discussion, and this one is an ongoing situation, as we all know, the Oakland A's. What's going to happen to the Oakland A's? Where should we put the Oakland A's? I think it was a couple days ago that the mayor of Las Vegas was like, "Yeah, I don't think Vegas is the move, guys. Like, I just don't really think that is the best plan here. I think they should remain in Oakland." What are we doing? What's going on? Like, where are the A's going to be then? Obviously, I'm for the A's staying in Oakland. I think John Fisher is a crook for doing what he's done to move them, regardless of what the city of Oakland has been doing. Like, I just think they should stay in Oakland. I think Oakland, they lost the Raiders. At least have them keep the A's and have another owner buy the A's so they can enjoy baseball again. But I just don't know if that's going to happen. But if not Vegas, where? Where are we going to put the A's? It'd have to be, like, if not Vegas, where? Like, I think part of it was the location where the mayor was like, "Yeah, I don't know about that." It was like the old Tropicana. I was like, I don't know. Not the best decision, guys. Just objectively super funny kind of grenade to just launch into that project by the mayor. Like, that's an all-time shit-starting move, and I love it. Where do we put the A's? Hit me up online, text me, email me. Where should we put the A's? I'm thinking, now hear me out, St. Petersburg, Florida. They have one team. I think they could use another. They share the stadium. They both play at the Trop. 2 baseball teams, 1 Trop. I mean, I like that marketing message already. Like, how could this go wrong? Where else could they go? I don't know. It's weird. It must be weird being not only an A's fan. It must suck to be an A's fan right now, but it must be weird being an A's player. Where it's like, I don't know, am I going to be on this team in a couple of years? That's always a question if you're an A's player and you're any good. And 2, it's like, I don't know, are we going to move to Vegas? Are we going to have a place to play, even in Oakland, in the next couple of years? Because Vegas, they were just going to play at the minor league stadium. Or keep playing in Oakland until they moved to Vegas, even though technically they wouldn't be the Oakland A's anymore. I don't know. This is an absolute shitstorm that has just, now a bigger wrench has been thrown into it, and nobody knows where we're going to put the A's. I'll campaign to put the A's in St. Petersburg at the Trop. 2 teams, 1 Trop. I think that plays. Or just shove the A's and, I don't know, where needs a team? Do the Mariners need a rival that is close to them, like the Vancouver A's? Like, that'd be a real, like, the I-90 rivalry. Put the A's in Spokane. How about that? The Spokane A's. No chance that market is big enough to support a major league team. The Portland A's. Huh? Portland Athletics. I don't know. They got the Pickles. That's and the Hillsboro Hops. So I think they're set, actually. Oh, what if the A's are like all-time road team? They don't have a home. They're the nomads of the league. They go and make their homes where they play baseball. Now that would be something. Definitely something that would get approved by the Players Association, where players wouldn't have a home for 162 games. But wouldn't it be interesting? Like all-time road team Oakland Athletics, like the barnstorming Oakland Athletics. They're just romping around the country playing ball. That would be interesting. That'd be fun. You could really do something cool out of that. The Savannah Athletics take over the Savannah Bananas reign of baseball in Louisiana. I don't know. I don't know what happens. Like, seriously, this sucks and I think is very just bad for baseball. It's bad for fans, and optically, it's just a bad look for the sport as a whole. It's an even worse look for John Fisher, and I guess not an amazing look for Vegas, but it's kind of funny that the mayor's just like, I don't know, guys. But that's it. I'm calling it. I'm calling the episode. I'm not going to talk anymore about the A's, but I appreciate you listening this far. Will there be a podcast next week? I cannot give you confirmation on if there will be or not. Maybe. There might be. I don't know. It does kind of depend if there's stuff to talk about. I do kind of want to draft the Seattle Mariners 11 for soccer. I kind of want to draft a soccer team for them. That sounds like fun. But it's almost preview season. I've already started kind of mapping out what I'm going to do because it's 6 divisional previews and 1 Mariners preview. And those episodes take a long time, and I generally liked doing it last year. I know I'm going to like doing it again this year. It just requires more time and planning, and I will hopefully have a schedule-ish of when those preview episodes are going to come out. But I kind of want to wait as long as I possibly can for these free agents to fall somewhere before doing that. So stand by for any updates, but I appreciate you listening this far, and I will give you a hearty Go Mariners, as well as rate and review the show if you like it, but also go Seattle Mariners and have a good rest of your week, people.